to our webinar today. It's the top of the hour and we're just waiting for a few other folks I see signing in. So we're going to give it about another 90 seconds and then we'll be right back to you. One of the things I even see already, people are submitting questions. So on the right-hand side on your GoToMeeting control bar, if at any time throughout this presentation, feel free to post some questions. And again, it's Brian with Hubbub Health, and we'll look forward to welcoming you back in about 60 seconds. Well, hello everyone. My name is Brian Berkfield and I'm with Hubbub Health, and I wanted to welcome you to our webinar today, Getting Budget and Buy-in from the Boss. And it's our pleasure to be able to sponsor and promote this to you today. One of the things I do want to share with you is that we will be making available the slides for today's presentation. In addition, we'll be recording today's session, and that will be available for your follow-up and review at your convenience. Again, my name is Brian, and I'm with Hubbub Health, and I wanted to share with you a special guest, Barbara Cecil. Barbara is the Director of Human Resources for MAPS Credit Union, and while she is a Hubbub client, she is going to speak to you as an HR and wellness professional, and I want to welcome you, Barbara. Do you want to please say hello to everyone?
Thanks, Brian. Yes. Again, I work for MAPS Credit Union. We are a credit union here in Salem, Oregon. We have 9 branches, and we span the 4 corners of Salem, as well as have branched out into Monmouth, Oregon, Silverton, Oregon, and Woodburn, Oregon. And I do look forward to sharing you a little bit about my journey with wellness and getting management buy-in.
Well, thank you, Barbara. And again, one of the things that we're really pleased to be able to share is not just Barbara's experience, but Barbara's experience in working with her organization from, again, getting buy-in and getting budget approval. And one of the things that we'll share with you throughout this presentation is many of you on the call have shared with us that you're just thinking about implementing a wellness program, and you're absolutely appropriate for attending this. The content of this program is also going to be appropriate to those of us, or those of you that already have wellness programs, because the idea of getting leadership buy-in and approval is an ongoing journey. And I know Barbara is anxious to share with you her trials and tribulations in working with her team to continuously promote the concept of wellness, provide its value to the organization, and continue to provide data feedback to the leadership. Our agenda today is just a general view of what wellness is, why we're doing wellness, sharing Barbara's case study and some of her results. And most importantly, we're going to spend the majority of the time, again, talking about Barbara's journey in identifying why wellness was important to their organization, what it promised to deliver, what it actually delivered, and what she is now doing years after implementing the wellness program. So the idea of what wellness is really what we're trying to do is talk about wellness in the context of how it is a business solution. And there's really 3 reasons why organizations do wellness. Many of you do wellness to save money. We do it because we have an opportunity to have healthier employees, healthy employers tend to utilize claims and insurance services less, and therefore we have an opportunity to save money. We do it because we want to make money. Productive, engaged employees are more attentive to our business, and they actually obviously produce more results for us as organizations. And it's good to be a hero. Doing wellness and keeping healthy employees is really the right thing to do. And so today what we'd like to do is just share with you some stats that support these ideas of saving money, making money, and being a hero in your wellness program. As we all know, there are certain ROI stats and figures that have been put together to be able to show that we're actually able to generate savings. This one from Harvard Business Review said $1 invested yielded $6 in savings. As we look through a few of these other stats, we reduce sick leave. We find ways to better engage employees into their better use of their healthcare system. And then making money, we know that productive and engaged employees are going to have healthier habits. They're going to be able to support our business goals and needs. And we know that engaged employees are also going to stay with the organization, so our opportunity for turnover is less. Our opportunity that employees are actually going to work harder and perform better has been proven in a number of studies. And the fact that we're actually going to have more energy in our workforce, and I know Barbara's going to share with you a number of stories about how her organization throughout different branches, dispersed workers, they've been able to actually see that energy level and how it's supporting the business goals of the organization. And we know that folks obviously, and Barbara's going to support this as well, that they stay with the organization, they're productive. And not only that, we know that from a leadership standpoint, yeah, it's great that we're able to support our individual organization goals, but really the wellness program is all about supporting individual goals and supporting individual lifestyle and finding ways that we're intrinsically engaging our workforce. We also know that studies have been proven, and Barbara supports this, especially from her standpoint from the financial services industry, that healthy employees actually have healthy financial habits. We know that stress is a big issue in our workforce, and oftentimes people bring in financial stresses to the work, and we know that as people are physically fit, they have an opportunity to be more financially fit. And one of the reasons that we're doing wellness is, yes, we get to save money, we can make more money, we can be a hero, but when we go to our leadership teams, I know, Barbara, at times you've had the question, what is wellness? Do you remember the first time you went to your executive team and mentioned the idea of wellness, that the definition was maybe not clear for everyone?
Yeah, definitely.
So in one of the things that we've tried to do is just provide that benchmark, because when we look at wellness, there are so many different types of services and products that we can do, whether it's a health risk assessment, weight loss programs that you currently might have. Maybe it's Weight Watchers within the organization. Maybe it's a newsletter, a service that you subscribe to or your team produces, and even health coaching, whether that's an individual service or a service provided in conjunction with maybe your insurance program, and even nurse hotline, and many of you are even offering flu shots. These are all part of wellness offerings. One of the things that we'd really like to stress, and I know, Barbara, you've had success at MAPS, is the idea that whilst these are all supporting the idea of wellness, it's all about finding ways that individuals can make small, sustainable changes, and they own the program, versus the program being directed towards them and one size fits all. It's creating that opportunity that individuals can actually own a portion of their own wellness program and bring those intrinsic motivators in. And Barbara is going to share all of her trials and tribulations related to that. In fact, let's get into that, Barbara. You mentioned that you're in Salem, Oregon. You have employees located in 8 locations. You began this journey of wellness when?
I would say probably seriously about 5 years ago, when we started seeing some pretty significant increases in our claims experience.
Well, let's talk about that. You have employees in different locations. What were you doing prior to maybe 5 years ago when you started to do? Were you doing some very basic things or other?
Very basic. Like, we knew flu shots were important. So we as early as 2000, we started implementing a flu shot clinic where we would have actually nurses come in from our benefits carrier and do the flu shots, and then we kind of moved away from that because we were changing carriers periodically, and we had a carrier who was covering our flu shot expense. So we would send our employees out, encourage them to get their flu shots, and then if it cost them any money, we would reimburse them. Because it was a lot easier to do that too, as opposed to actually having them to have to come in from 8 branches to one central location and get their flu shot. They could go wherever they wanted to and then just submit a bill to us, and we just reimburse them for the cost. So that's kind of how easily we started out, and it was very simplistic at that point.
Well, and what was the idea of even just that basic flu shot? And then on the screen here, we obviously see the fact that you guys were having high claims, you're paying your employees to sit all day. Well, walk us through some of those other situations that were happening at MAPS. And
okay, well,
I think the other thing that...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think the other thing that I remember when we were talking about your progression through wellness was the idea that you've gone through certain mergers as well, and so you maybe inherited employees in different parts or different organizations, and so getting everyone unified because you had all these different types of situations come into the fold.
Sure. So I mean, the reason that we knew we needed to do something was, we were having some attendance issues, obviously. We were having a lot of turnover. Again, the claims experience. We just knew that if people were, if we could provide them with some help in staying healthy, that we might be able to improve those statistics a little bit. Our high claims came in, and we realized we had some people in the organization that had some fairly significant health issues that were kind of brought on by an unhealthy lifestyle over a long period of time, and they kind of ramped up our claims experience. And we realized, if these people would have practiced healthy habits early on, their health probably wouldn't have gotten to the point where they, number one, were diabetic, or they went into renal failure, or they were having heart attacks and having open heart surgeries because they were overweight. So, we kind of knew that also fed into, people having low energy levels. And so we started out very small. I had no budget whatsoever to work on any of this, but we did have a health insurance carrier that would help us with some free biometric testing. So we kind of moved into that arena and started kind of seeing where some of our issues were. And it was indeed centered around, body mass index. A lot of our people were overweight, and a lot of it was because of the unhealthy lifestyle we kind of fostered here at MAPS. I started working here back in 1988, and the biggest thing was the potlucks and the donuts at the staff meetings and all of the food that was always available for people to eat. And so we kind of recognized that we were kind of feeding into some of those situations as well, and we knew that we had to make some changes in that area. And as soon as
Go ahead. I think one of the things that I remember too that I know folks on the call would want to gain an appreciation of is that as you started growing your business and having more employees, you were putting employees in positions where they were having more frontline interaction with members or customers.
Right.
And I remember a story where you were asking people to start selling products and be involved in the business. And here was a workforce that was really sedentary, low energy, and so you were trying to be promotional, and yet your employee base was really not mirroring that business objective.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we've done recently to that end is we've just gone through a rebrand in our organization, and it was kind of interesting to see. About 10 years ago, if this question would have come up, we would have said absolutely not. It doesn't match our theme, it doesn't match our colors, it just doesn't look professional. We had an employee recently in the last probably year who asked, you know, instead of buying me an expensive office chair, could I please have one of those exercise balls that fits in something that looks like a chair stand so that I am, you know, moving my core throughout the day instead of sitting at a desk? Because I think we all know now that statistics are saying that people who sit all day are health hazards. It shortens their lifespan. It causes, I mean, there's all sorts of things that are linked to employees who sit all day as far as being in poor health. So we, you know, at first it was like, oh, you know, I don't know. We just did this new rebranding. We've got this color scheme. We've got all this. And we finally just decided, well, you know what? As long as it's gray, we're fine with that. So
well, what I love about that story, and we're going to get into, as you guys went through from an executive leadership standpoint to get their buy-in, to get them buy-off from a leadership standpoint, is that you started having activity at the employee level. And I think one of the things that I wanted to go to is that, you know, as you at MAPS were from your leadership position and within human resources and wellness, you know, you went to your executive team and you had 3 things that you were going to potentially present to them, that they had an opportunity to save money, that you folks had an opportunity to make more money through productive employees and productive employees who could sell products, and then you had the opportunity to actually do the right thing, to be the hero, and to support your employees and their families. And I remember you came to that conclusion that the number one thing that you guys were after was the opportunity to save money, and that was because your claims had gotten out of control. And walk us through that discussion that you started having with your leadership team on the belief that you could actually implement a wellness program, that it was all-encompassing, and that you could actually use it to save money. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we started seeing these heavy claims, this heavy claims experience, and I think there's a slide later in the presentation, but I'll address it now. Back in September of, I'm sorry, I have to refresh my screen. It just went to sleep on me. Back in September of 2012, we hit an outstandingly high claims experience level. We had just gone to being a partially self-insured organization, and so the importance of maintaining those costs got even more important to us. And we were at 125% of expected claims in September of 2012. And so at that point, we knew we needed to do something. We had already been kind of slowly implementing small things like I don't know if you're familiar with the 5210 program, but I would Google it if I were you. Just Google like 5210 challenge at some point. And it's a really no-cost, cool way to get people on board with changing their habits and adopting a healthy lifestyle. So we had been doing some of those kinds of things, and we had already seen that people were, you know, starting to change their habits. So we knew that these increases in claims experience was ultimately going to impact them because they were going to be paying more for their benefits. Because we had started to have to start passing down the cost of insurance benefits so that our employees were paying a portion of the cost. When I started working here back in 1988, we paid for full family coverage. And we've gotten to a point now where our employees are having to pay out of pocket for their own individual coverage now. So it was hitting them in the pocketbook, and they knew as employees that they actually need to do something to impact that claims experience too, because of the things that we had been doing to show them that you need to change your, you know, we were kind of in a way dictating to them that you need to change your lifestyle, because this is how it's impacting your premium increases every year. So it wasn't hard to convince the senior management team who makes those executive decisions about how much an employee is going to have to pay, that if we threw a little bit of money into a wellness program and started incenting people for improving their health, that eventually it was going to hit the bottom line on claims experience. And sure enough, about well, not even a full year later, in July of 2013, our claims experience had gone from 125% down to 100%. And I just got my mid-year results for 2014, and as of July 31, our claims experience is running at 66% of expected. So that's what a diligent focus on wellness can do to save the company money. And then in turn, it makes the company money because your employees are way more happy, way more productive, and you're a hero because they see that you feel like they're important by, you know, you're incenting them for doing things that are just going to improve their health.
Well, that is such impressive results that you're able to see and to manage and articulate. And I think one of the things as we went through that, I remember you were talking about some of the conversations that you were having with some of your leadership. And we have a few slides here that go into a little bit more about the discussion of how you continue to get leadership involved. And so you went to your leadership. They obviously knew claims were high. They knew that their insurance carrier costs were going up. And so they had the belief or faith to implement a wellness program and some of the things that you talked about. I think the other thing that we found interesting was that if you've gone through that, you've found different ways to engage your leadership team, whether it's the CEO, the CFO, in different ways other than getting them just to sign the check. Share with us a little bit about how you've gotten different members of the leadership team involved.
Okay, so we do have a key executive member on our wellness committee, and he's our CFO, and he actually is the one. He's also included in our benefits renewal meetings with our broker every year, and so he has he has big ownership in making sure that we keep costs contained, and he's also one of our hood to coast. We have I don't know how many Oregonians we have on the call, but we have a hood to coast event here in Oregon every year at the end of August, and he's one of our hood to coast runners. So we run from Mount Hood to the coast, and we have a team of I think it's 6 to 12 people that run this thing, and the goal is to get from Mount Hood to the Oregon coast. So we've already got somebody on our executive team, at least one person on our executive team who is physically active and understands the importance of being well. And so it wasn't really hard for me to engage him and have him be a part of our wellness committee and the decisions that we make relative to wellness. Plus, I kind of need him there because I need his buy-in on the budget for attaching to the wellness things that we do.
I want to talk a little bit more about this wellness committee, because you've brought this up a few times, and I think maybe this is one of the things too is folks that are on the call that are looking to implement a wellness program into their organization, or maybe already have a wellness program. Share with us the importance of a wellness committee, whether it's 2 people or 20 people based on the size of your organization, and how you form that, who's involved, and obviously it's key that you have this executive on your committee. Talk to us a little bit about that as you develop that and what that's looked like over the years.
So for me personally, it was I knew I couldn't do this by myself. Back when we started getting really heavy into wellness here at MAPS, I had a former member of the U.S. Olympic team as my recruiter generalist, and she was like in the 1976 Olympics, I think, and she was very into understanding how important it was to get people rallied around a cause, because she did some wellness things after her stint with being an Olympic gymnast, understanding how unhealthy some of the ways these Olympians were training were. And so she got on the wellness bandwagon very early in life. And when we decided we were going to create this wellness thing at MAPS, she was like completely engaged. And so she basically realized there's no way I can do this myself. I have all these preconceived notions of what I think it should look like, but I also know that we have a very diverse group of staff that have some pretty valuable ideas. And we already knew as a credit union that you don't make a major decision or do anything that impacts staff or members without including, key stakeholders, number one, but people who have opinions and ideas and really good ideas, and people of all different walks of life. So, I mean, we have some people on our wellness committee that aren't extremely healthy, but they have some really good ideas about wellness that we wouldn't think of as people that are a little bit more physically fit, because wellness isn't just about being physically fit. Wellness is about being emotionally fit and, about making sure that you take time to stop and smell the roses and those kinds of things. So that's kind of how we came to the conclusion that we needed to have a wellness committee, because then we have representation too, because we're so spread out. We have, like I said, 8 branches in different communities, and so we all come together once a month, and we sit down and we talk about what we want to do for the next month as far as challenges, and we decide as a team, and then those committee members go back to their branches or their departments, and they start spreading the word. And that's how you succeed with a committee.
I so appreciate that comment where you said that you might have been an Olympian who was on your committee to help muster it, but now it's not just the super jocks, that it's really a varied group, team of individuals representing different wellness phases of their life. And I think that's one of the things that we found, and you're certainly sharing, is that it's not all about the super fit, where you get real people with real lives that can share their real experiences. So I know you're also thinking about the next phase of getting leadership involved, and I think it's important, again, for the us on the call to appreciate that you guys have been doing wellness for a number of years, and you're still working to get different leadership involved within your organization. So I know you're working on this challenge with your CEO, right?
Yeah, because getting them to sign the check is one thing. Getting them to actually agree that, yes, wellness is important, we need to do this. But getting your leadership group engaged in the wellness program is also key, because they are the ones who set the example for staff. I'm really fortunate that I have a very motivated staff here in our organization. We have, everybody loves healthy competition, but they love it even more when you can get the CEO and the executive team involved. We just did our Oregon State Fair is in August, and so we did a fundraiser for a trade association that we support, and we did a dunk take in our parking lot, and all of our executives were people that were going to be in the dunk take, and people bought tickets like you would not believe to support this fundraiser so that they could throw a ball and knock their key executive in the dunk tank. So one of the things that I'm planning to try to get our executive team engaged in participating in hubbub, in our wellness program, is our CEO is a huge Diet Coke fan. And so I thought, what better way to get the executive team kind of engaged and get all of the staff rallying for the execs and vice versa if we did a Diet Coke challenge, and we challenged him not to drink Diet Coke for a month, and the first time he gets caught doing it, he has to pay all of the employees so much money for drinking that Diet Coke because he got caught. We do a Wheel of Fortune at our staff meetings every month, and we spin the wheel. If somebody gets their name, if somebody sends somebody an email and says, you did such a good job on this, then people get up and they draw names out of a hat, and that person gets to spin the wheel. And one of the items on the wheel is what's in the CEO's wallet. And so when they land on that, they get to take whatever he has in his wallet as a prize for getting that kudo email. So this is kind of along that same line.
I love that. What I really enjoy about hearing this real-life story is how it just didn't happen overnight, how you're working as either an individual or a wellness committee to getting different leadership individuals involved, and a lot of times it's an individual special situation to try to bring that person in. So just like our employees, we just don't flip a switch and all employees join the wellness program. All leadership doesn't join at the same time, and I think that it's important level set for those of us who are either thinking about a wellness program or in it, that it's real life, that we're constantly working to find ways that we're seeking leadership approval to carry on with our wellness solution. I want to share and have you explain briefly some of these challenges that you folks are doing and why they're important to your organization. And I think one of the things that's interesting too that you've really been able to do, Barbara, is individualize these wellness activities to, again, support your business objectives. That, again, it's not just a wellness program in left field that is detracting employees and leadership to achieve the goals of the company. Right. That these are things that not only make them healthy, but they support the objectives that you've set out as a company.
Sure. Before I do that, I want to go back to something I was saying earlier. I was kind of fumbling through the employees that sit all day, and I remembered that I had taken some notes and Googled this a little bit yesterday, and I found some information that says that 86% of American workers sit all day at their jobs. That is an outstanding statistic. I didn't know it was that high. And that because those people sit all day, they have an increased risk of cancer, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and even death. So that's how important the idea of understanding even our working conditions is. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Well, no, I'm glad you did, because there's many studies out there and even articles in either the Human Resource Wellness publication or the public trade is that, you know, sitting is really the new smoking, and that especially organizations, white collar financial services that you're in, that you're asking your folks to sit all day. I mean, what can you do to combat that? And I think some of these challenges.
I have this unit called a Veridesk. It's VARIDESK.com is the website. And I bought it because I wanted to try it out and see if it might be a solution for, we do have staff members who have reasons why they can't sit all day. They have bad backs or whatnot. And you need to be able to make a reasonable accommodation to those employees. So I spent $275 on this thing that sits on my desk. It holds my laptop. It holds my big screen. And if I had a keyboard, my keyboard would slide under it. And I can raise my workstation up and down right at my desk. That is not a very expensive, it's not a high cost for providing somebody with a solution that doesn't require them to sit all day. And then what that does for me, it makes me so much more productive, because when I'm standing and I'm feeling comfortable, I'm way more productive. So that's one solution. And as you're looking at maybe remodeling your offices or whatever, and you're looking at office service furniture, I would highly recommend you check out the Veridesk if you can't do something more extravagant. I'm going to get off that soapbox and talk about the challenges that we're doing and why we're doing them here at MAPS. We actually have 5 of them that are running through the summer. These are 3 of them. We have one that is a screen time challenge that is challenging employees to, before they sit down and watch TV at night, to do 2 things that they're either interacting with their family, playing a game, or they're going out for a run. They're doing something that is delaying that time that they're sitting on the couch and watching TV or sitting in front of the computer and playing computer games, or whatever it is that people do after they've sat at the job all day and looked at a screen all day. So the benefit of that, obviously, is that you got people, when they come in the morning, they're more engaged at what they have to do with that computer because they spent some time last night doing things that were way more productive, emotionally, physically, whatever. One of the other challenges that we have going is I'm thankful for, and there's a number of times that they have to check in during the month in order to complete this challenge and gain a reward. But typically, 1 or 2 times a day, you should check in and say, I'm thankful for, it could be my husband because he's such a great golf coach, or, I'm thankful for my job because, it pays the bills. Anything that you're thankful for. Again, it's one of those things that gets people, and then you got people out there in the hubbub system, if you're not familiar with it, when you check into a challenge like this, other people who are your friends can see you, and they'll fist bump you. So then you're getting a kudos for, hey, way to go, when you do something like that. And it just makes you feel good about yourself, and it makes you feel good about your life. The other one that we have going is Gym Rat Road Warrior Challenge, and I developed this one because there are several of us at MAPS that are very almost obsessed when it comes to working out. And so I had somebody come to me one day and say, these are really cool challenges that you have out there, but this is what I do every day, so it's not a whole lot for me to do that. So we created this Gym Rat Road Warrior Challenge that would challenge people who, go to the gym like at least 4 times a week, or go on a run of 3 miles or more at least 4 times a week, or do anything like that for 45 minutes minimum, at least 4 times a week, and can get credit for it. And it's a competition thing. It's funny because I'll have people stop me while I'm going to get a cup of coffee or something and say, well, I see you were out there again yesterday. How am I ever going to keep up with you? So it's a lot of fun. Another one we got running that's not here is oh no, I can't remember the name of it, and I don't have it up on my screen, but it's Get Out and Play or Move. And so you can either participate in a golf tournament, or you can participate in a fun run. The Hood to Coast was one of the ones that qualified people to earn a reward for participating in that challenge. So those are kind of the things that we're doing at MAPS to motivate people to be active. We have another one that's a eating clean challenge, and they have to share a recipe every time they eat something clean. And eating clean is basically, eating something that comes from the ground or off a tree, or, it's not processed.
You know what I so enjoy about hearing your examples is the variety of activities, and the fact that you're encouraging people to do things not just at work, but when they're at home, when they're with their family. And whilst you had that physical activity one, the Gym Rat, you had other things very basic, focused on stress management, gratitude, and other things. And I think that's one of the things that we've certainly learned from your and others, is that wellness isn't all about physical activity, and it's
right.
A variety of things. And, I wanted to share with folks some of your specific results. We had 3 or 4 more slides, and then I see some questions already coming in. I know Laura is preparing some questions for us. So our goal is to spend just a few more minutes talking about specific results at MAPS, and then also having an opportunity to have an open dialogue or questions. And so there were 3 things that when you proposed the wellness solution to your executive team, it was the opportunity to save money, the opportunity to make money, and then the opportunity to be a hero. And I had a few slides that are going to follow up where you actually have been able to demonstrate all 3 of those. And so while at MAPS, Barbara set out to achieve the opportunity to save money, because that was critical, and that was an easy way that she got executive attention, the opportunity to save money for the organization to support its business goals. And then you've been able to go on and do other things. So I know you talked about this. Let's just review again how you were able to, or the time period by which you were able to have this decrease in your claims use.
Right. So, I mean, this month would be that 2-year mark. Every conference, seminar, all the information that I used to read about wellness programs before we got on the wellness bandwagon was that it took 2 to 3 years for a wellness program to really start demonstrating results and impact on the bottom line. And this statistic here is case in point, because, like I said earlier, we went 2 years ago this month, we were at 125% of expected claims experience, and as of July, and I haven't gotten last month's statistics, but August was running very much the same. So it's not like our claims are going up and down throughout the year. Our average claims were at 66%. So, I mean, that's almost cut in half.
And then let's talk about the productivity. You've seen how people are more productive. They're now selling products on the front line. You've seen the energy level increase. Talk to us also about turnover. You've had some stats about that.
Yeah, our turnover's decreased. I mean, partially because you know, of the economy here in Oregon, I'm sure, but that's improving, and we're still not seeing, you know, the turnover getting up there. But I think more so than that is absenteeism. I'm in HR, and I review all of the corrective action documentation before it gets delivered to employees. And one of the things that I used to see a lot was corrective action because somebody was taking advantage of our absenteeism policy and calling in sick all the time. You know, whether they're not calling in sick because they're happier or whether they're not calling in sick because they're not sick, it's hard to determine, because you know you have employees who'll call in sick just because they don't want to come to work some days. But either way, our absenteeism has dropped off significantly since we introduced our wellness program. And then we've also been able to keep our benefits costs a little bit more stable for employees, so they're not seeing the increases in their expense either.
And then, so you had the opportunity, you've been saving money, you're making more money, you're more productive, and the thing that I so appreciated is these intangibles, these stories from the water cooler to happier customer engagement points. Share with us a few things of that, and then we're going to go to some questions.
Right. So, you know, I mentioned how long I've been here and the donuts at the staff meetings, and we used to all meet around the boardroom table and celebrate birthdays and have donuts every month. And we couldn't fit in the boardroom to save our lives right now, but, you know, over time we've progressed, and we've changed to where I was just walking through one of our departments the other day, and, you know, where you used to walk by and you'd see, you know, cookies and chips and dips and things when they'd have a department party, they had sliced tomatoes and veggies and veggie dip and stuff sitting out, because people are truly self-conscious now about walking in the building with even holding a Starbucks cup here at MAP, because you don't know what's in that Starbucks cup. It's just the whole climate has changed as far as staff behavior. You know, the conversations at the water cooler and the coffee station are all centered around, hey, I saw that you were out there doing this yesterday, and here's what I was doing, and hey, will you share that recipe with me, and things like that. So it's pretty cool to see.
I love that. That is, you know, that third and the most valuable one, the intangibles part of being a hero from the leadership standpoint, is that you're actually able to influence and change the culture of the organization. So that quote and this story is so valuable.
I think another important thing, too, that I need to bring up is that when we first implemented our wellness program, before we moved to hubbub, we had a form that our employees had to fill out, and it was only the employees that were on our medical benefits plan, because that was all we could afford at the time. We were trying to offset the expense that they were having to pay for their medical benefits, and we were trying to kind of soften the blow of that first open enrollment session where we had to tell employees that they were actually going to have to start paying towards their medical insurance. And so we softened the blow by implementing this thing that they turned in on a quarterly basis, and they got a portion of what they were paying back in their paycheck at the end of the quarter. And so when we started with hubbub, we knew we wanted to make it all-inclusive, and I think that's really key. Is if you can at all, don't just focus on your people that are on your medical insurance, because you want your wellness program to address all of your employees, regardless of their hourly status, regardless of how much they're costing you. That's the message that sends to them. You're important to us no matter whether you're a 20-hour employee, whether you're on our insurance program, no matter what, you're important to us.
Yeah, it's so critical. And I think the other thing that you've done is not only part-time or individuals that aren't included in the insurance plan is friends and family, and finding how to bring those in. And I see a number of questions piling in here, and we have about 15 minutes till the top of the hour. So this last slide was really the quote that I think summarizes what you've done, Barbara, successfully, and that is continuously working to not just get leadership on board at the very beginning, but as the progression and the years have gone through, that you've continued to find ways that you're bringing more leadership on board. And again, it wasn't just getting them to sign a check, but finding ways that they're going to be actively involved themselves.
Right.
Well, we had one question that we wanted to ask folks, and we're purely doing this to find the most efficient and effective way to follow up with you. There's an orange paper, our version of a white paper, and some other information that we can make available to you. We can certainly make available these slides. If you wanted to take just 2 seconds and be able to respond to this poll question, I know, Laura, you can easily do this. What we're trying to do is, again, find the most efficient way to see if you're interested in a further dialogue, and if that dialogue happens to be with a wellness solution, we want to find a way to get you that information. So on the right-hand side, I think you have the opportunity to take this poll and respond accordingly. I know our team is gathering some other questions, and if we're ready, Barbara, before we went and switched over to questions, did you have one final thought that you wanted to leave the group?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Laura, do you have some questions for us? I know that we wanted to prioritize those and be sensitive to the time. Again, we're going to make available the slides if you've asked for them, and we're also going to make available the recording of our session with Barbara Cecil at MAPS Credit Union in Salem, Oregon.
And I guess that would be my final thought. If anybody, wants my email address, it's right there. If you have any questions about how I went about implementing our wellness program, or need any further information from me, or tips, or anything like that, I'm happy to share with anyone.
That's great. We're so appreciative of that, Barbara. And Laura, do you want to share with us the first question?
Yeah, so one of the first ones that came in says, I work at a small company and we are new to wellness. Do you have any recommendations to get started?
Barbara, what tips do you have for the group?
I would check out that 5210. I really would. That's pretty basic. Go into, I wrote it down. It's www.5210challenge.org. You can actually go in and sign in, establish a username and sign in, and you can kind of see how it works. And it's really basic, and try that out in your organization and see how it goes, and maybe even attach a small incentive to it. Figure, and if you want more information on how to go about doing that, we did a whole program around it here at MAPS, and I could share that with you.
That's great. I know one of the other things that we were chatting about the other day too, Barbara, was groups that are first starting to get involved in it, regardless of what size, is to maybe poll your employees. A lot of times they might have specific ideas initially that they want to work on, or that they want really permission from you as business leaders to be able to do at work. So oftentimes a very basic, whether it's SurveyMonkey or an email poll, seeking questions or suggestions.
Yeah, we definitely did a survey. So.
Well, great. Laura, how about some other questions there?
Yeah, we have another question asking, what type of incentive structure are you using, and how do you use the platform to work with that?
Barbara, I think you have the advantage that from your perspective, you weren't always on the hubbub program, but you were doing things and rewarding people prior to that. So what things were you doing early on, and then how has that progressed now?
So we were, in the very beginning when we were awarding prizes and things, we did like a Weight Watchers at Work program, or Biggest Loser contest. That's the one that was really successful here, and we gave the person who lost the most percentage of weight $100. Remember, that is taxable too. So we, they won $100 and we grossed it up. Then when we moved to what I was referring to as the paper process, where everybody had to fill out this crazy 4-page document telling about everything that they did to earn a requisite number of points to earn $100 reimbursement on a quarterly basis, we put it in their paycheck. And again, we taxed it, because when they pay for their insurance, they're not taxed. So you got to remember all those tax issues. With hubbub, you don't have to do that. I mean, you still do, because with hubbub, you get Amazon rewards, and employees love it. I thought at first, I was like, oh man, employees are going to hate this because it's not cash money. You would not believe how many employees we have and how many boxes are down in the lobby from people ordering stuff from Amazon, and they collect their rewards, and they'll go out, and it's usually something fitness related, which is really cool.
What are some of the things that you've had them do or encourage them or support them to do specific activities? Share with us one of those ones that you've recently incentivized people on.
Well, I don't know what you're getting at there.
You wanted them to, I think one of them was to get to certain levels or to complete numbers of challenges.
So our engagement, I was noticing that, we had 144 people in the wellness program, but not all of them were really engaged. And the reason I knew that was because on the front page of hubbub, you see what your pulse is, and when your pulse goes down, you know that people aren't, their engagement is dropping. And so I ran reports and decided I want to dangle a carrot out there for people to reach a certain level, and then I'll reward them an extra amount of money over and above what we would normally reward for the quarter. I'm going to give them an extra $25 if they reach this level. And I came up with level 35 because I think we only had like 5 people in the 144 that had reached level 35. So they're automatically going to get their $25. And then anybody else who reaches that level, and there were quite a few people that were pretty close, will get an additional $25 if they reach level 35 by the end of September. So that's kind of one way that you can increase engagement, is just dangle carrots out there to encourage people to participate.
What I like too about that, and I see one of the other questions came in, is that, what's the dollar volume or amount? And as many of you know, the national averages are anywhere from, let's say $25 up to $350 per employee per year. I think the value of a wellness program is not so much big dollars, but to your point, Barbara, from a reward standpoint, it's lots of smaller, more frequent incentives. And so maybe that's something to think about as you're making the case to your leadership team, where you're presenting the concept of either a new solution or an ongoing solution. Laura, I see we're getting close to the top of the hour, and maybe we just had time for one other question. And then we'll do a wrap-up to make certain that we're sensitive to everyone's time.
Sure. There was another question asking if we could share some examples of how to launch a wellness program that engages the senior executives, and what kind of challenges can be run to get them to be doing the activities with their employees.
So, Barbara, I know we're sharing the example of how your CEO was an avid Diet Cola drinker. What are some of the things that maybe that you've done with your team from a leadership standpoint? Was there one thing of the things
I'm gonna do is based on a conversation that I had with an executive yesterday, is I'm going to go to an executive team meeting, because I don't sit at the executive table and I don't go to those meetings. So I think that's where we may have some issues with, you get that buy-in, but you've got to keep them engaged, and I'm not sitting at that table every other week when they have their meeting. So I'm actually going to go to that meeting and share the statistics with them and show them how many people we have engaged in the program, show them the rewards that we're paying out, show them our biometric testing results, because they have improved over the first time that we did it a year ago. And that's how I think that you get them kind of actively involved, is when they can start seeing, oh yeah, this is working, and then convincing them that employees are watching you and they're going to echo your behavior. So I think that's kind of one way to do it.
You know what I so appreciate about that statement is the idea, oh, sorry everyone, I just pushed the wrong button. I was looking for a slide here that I wanted to share, was the idea that leadership buy-in is ongoing, that you're constantly striving and finding ways that you're going back to one of these 3 things. And as we wrap up the call today and think about a tangible activity or a thought that we can leave you with, and that is to help your leadership team focus on why you're doing wellness. That really it's one of these three things, and it's okay to do wellness to save money. It's okay to do wellness so that your company can make more money, and it's okay to be a hero because it's the right thing to do. And then finding ways, to Barbara's point, that you're constantly going back and sharing ways that you're saving money, ways that you're making more money, your productivity measurements that maybe as a company that you're tracking, even if it's absenteeism or other activities. And then finding ways that you're sharing intangible stories with the CEO or the leadership team that you're reporting into, because a lot of times those intangibles are the things that you're going to see right away, especially if you haven't had a wellness program, that the stories and the feedback and the subtleties, you're going to get those initially, and then over time you're going to see these metrics be able to take fold. So, Barbara, I wanted to thank you so much for your time, being a wellness champion, not just in your organization, but regionally and nationally within the health and wellness community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone who have committed 1 hour of your day. We so appreciate that. We will be following up or making available the presentation, both from a slide standpoint as well as a recorded version. And with that, I wanted to be sensitive to everyone's time. Thank you so much from Hubbub Health and Barbara Cecil.
Thank you.